Shalom. All praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Racha Kodash, and double honors to my elder apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom Wa Chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, all my so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed line of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you guys say Shalom, beginning with the 144,000 prophets, and Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, willing. This lesson is edifying and informative. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 6 in the NLT. But soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, "What sorrow awaits you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on?" In the KJV, it reads, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay." In the news, from the Kobisis letter from X. This is absolutely insane. Total U.S. debt is now expected to hit 40 trillion this year per Kalshi, as this is a debt-based society. To put this into perspective, at the start of 2020, the total U.S. debt stood at 23.2 trillion. This would mark a near 17 trillion increase in 6 years, which is incredible, to say the least. Never in history has the U.S. borrowed even remotely near the levels we are borrowing now. This is a crisis. Also referenced by Kalshi live 5 hours ago. With the big beautiful bills passing, national debt is forecasted to reach 40 trillion this year. No end in sight. So the debt will continue, please excuse me, to appreciate, especially with the passing of the big beautiful bill. Now, the debt is currently at $37 trillion, and it will only continue to appreciate. In the scriptures, this man's debt is referenced as thick clay, which in the Hebrew is Ibat Yat, which means weight of pledges, heavy debts, thick clay, pawn goods, thick clay. From the root Ibath, pledging of goods, hence load of debt, which one has contracted. Thus, the meaning taken is that of accumulation of pledges. And pledges is just another word for debt. Pledging goods. So this man has accumulated an absurd amount of pledging of goods, load of debt. Through all of his printing of money over the decades, among other factors. And again, reading the scripture, Habakkuk chapter 2, you have the book of Hebrews of my mind, verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? And who are these that will take up a parable against him? In the NLT, it says, but soon their captives will taunt them. And who are the captives of the him, of the them that is being referenced here? First and foremost, the him or the them is referring to the wicked, who according to the book of Malachi chapter 1 verse 4 is Esau, Edom. And the sons and daughters of the nation of Israel, or so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners, are their captives. And not only are the captives taunting them, but the other nations too, because when we read from the forward verse, it reads in the NLT, look at the proud. They trust in themselves, and their lives are crooked. But the righteous, and who's the righteous? Israelites, beginning with the elect of the nation of Israel, will live by their faithfulness to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai. Wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouths as wide as the grave, which is why it says in the KJV, he is proud, neither keepeth at home who enlargeth his desire as hell, because hell can never be satisfied. It's insatiable. Scripture says in the book of Proverbs, he coveteth greedily all the day long, and is as death and cannot be satisfied. In NLT, it reads on to say, they open their mouths as wide as the grave, proving that hell is not a place where you literally burn forever after you pass away, if you would have lived a bad life, so-called. Hell is the grave. They open their mouths as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many people, which is why the other nations are also taunting this man and complaining about this man being a very greedy, insatiable beast that cannot be satisfied. In the KJV, it reads, shall not all these? So aren't all these nations as well going to take up a proverb against him? Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe, which means destruction, to him that increaseth that which is not his, because this man has went throughout the earth and exploited and extorted nations of their natural resources. in causing the people of these different nations to become impoverished. And so these nations are beginning to see this now more so than ever, and they're taking up a parable against this man and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? So how long is this going to continue to last? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay. And the NLT, it reads, but soon their captives will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow awaits you thieves? Refer to a documentary entitled The Confession of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. In that documentary, Perkins explains the nature of the U.S. and how it would send economic hitmen throughout various countries that are rich in resources, and they would try to get it. He goes in detail. Now you will get what you deserve. And what is America Babylon the Great gonna receive that it deserves according to biblical prophecy? Destruction by a thermonuclear fire according to biblical prophecy. See the book of Malachi chapter 4 verse 1. Revelation 18, Revelation the 9th chapter, Joel the 2nd chapter, Isaiah the 13th chapter. You become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? And it won't go on forever. So with that, this has been a real brief report. I just wanted to do a lesson on this particular topic. This report that I saw on X, and Lord's willing, it has been edifying and informative. Shalom to the elect.